What's up, everybody? It's Travis here from Travis.media. So starting today, I'm going to be doing a series of videos called Automating Your Life. Now, I just finished Edward Snowden's book, Permanent Record, and one thing that stood out to me was when he got shifted into a new job, the first thing he would do, the very first thing, would be to automate his daily tasks. And it got me thinking, my day-to-day job, I automate solutions for clients. That's largely what I do. They have something that they have to do over and over, and they call people like me to come and automate solutions for them. And I started thinking, why don't I do this stuff for myself? I do this for customers. Why don't I start automating some things in my own life, some things that I forget, and just have a lot of fun with it, because we're developers. We have this superpower that we never tap into, right? We're always building to-do lists and tic-tac-toe games, hangman, stuff like that. And we do stuff for customers. We build websites or whatever we do, but we don't really do a lot for ourselves. We just stick to those basic coding challenges. But you do have this superpower. You can take all of this coding knowledge and you can build amazing stuff. And we never do it. And what I'm going to do with these videos is I'm going to take some tools like Azure Logic Apps, AWS Lambda functions, things like that are basically free because they're serverless, and I'm going to automate some daily tasks. And some of this might not be super amazing, but it will give you ideas of how to automate things in your own life. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go in Azure, we're going to open up a Logic app, and we're going to send ourselves a text message every morning with a bunch of stuff that we look up anyway, right? So you wake up in the morning, you say, hey, what's the Bitcoin price? What's the weather for today? What's on my calendar? And you got all these apps and you flip through it and you check all this stuff. Why not just have all of that stuff report to you? Get all of that data, set it up, and have it sent to you via text message. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to get the Bitcoin price, today's weather, our Google Calendar, and some kind of positive quote. You can add whatever you want to it, but those are the 4 things I'm going to start with. So it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to need to sign up for an Azure account, which you should do anyway. It's basically free, and they give you all of this free stuff to begin with. You sign up for Azure. As long as you remember to cut stuff off when you leave, it's basically free. You can play around in there. Same thing with AWS. They give you like $100 credit with all this stuff, and you can learn so much. You can use so many of their resources for basically free, especially the serverless stuff like Lambdas and such. So sign up today for an Azure account. And you're also going to need to sign up with Twilio, which you should do anyway because they give you a free phone number. So you sign up, they give you this number. You can learn to use their SDK and program all this cool stuff for free. And then if you decide you want to purchase that number so that it removes that little, this is your test account watermark, you can put $10 in your account, $20 in your account. I have something sent to me every morning, and I use it for testing. I put $20 in there months ago, and I still got $13 left. So it'll last you forever. So sign up for a free account with Twilio and with Azure, and let's get started. So go ahead and open up Azure, log in, whatever you need to do. I'm not going to go over how to set up an Azure account because we're all developers. We're good with documentation. I know you can do it. So go ahead up here where it says Search Resources, type in Logic Apps, and just click on Logic Apps. And once this opens, go to Add and choose Consumption. Make sure you're in your subscription. I only have one, so just make sure you're in the right subscription. For Resource Group, let's create a new one. I'm going to name it My Morning Updates. And Logic App name, I'm going to name it the same thing. My Morning Updates, and maybe LA for Logic App. Region, choose your region. I'm going to choose East US, and don't worry about these two. Just click Next. You don't need any tags, so just choose Next, which is Review and Create. It's going to validate a few things, and then once that's done, just go down here, click Create. And you got a new Logic app. All right, so this Logic app deployment is complete. Click Go to Resource to go to your Logic app. Now, if you've never used Logic apps, they're the coolest thing because it gives you access to a lot of services, like built in. And basically, you can start with the trigger, and then you can have this series of actions that goes on from that trigger. So it's like coding, but you don't have to do the code. Actually, there's code behind the scenes, but you can basically drag and drop and link to all kinds of services to create your own application. So right here, you can start with a common trigger, which is, hey, when a new email is received in Outlook, when a new tweet is posted. Like, you don't have to go and work all of that stuff out. You will have to sign in to validate your account and stuff, but it makes it really easy to build quick automations. But what we're going to do is we're just going to choose blank logic app and build it from scratch. So first you have to start with the trigger. What's going to trigger it is we want this text sent every morning, let's say 6 a.m. So we need some kind of recurring daily trigger to happen. So up here in the search box is where you search for all of the things logic apps offer. So I'm going to type in recurrence. And you'll see down here there's a trigger called recurrence, which is part of the schedule module or whatever you call it. So click that. We're going to choose interval frequency. We're going to pick day. So every 1 day. Choose a new parameter. Start time is going to be, oh, actually not start time. Let's choose at these hours. So let's choose that. And then let's say at hour 6. So that's 6 in the morning. So this recurrence, every morning at 6 o'clock, this logic app is going to fire. Now, the cool thing about this is it's not running any other time of the day. It only runs when it's triggered. So our trigger is going to be 6 a.m. every day. So that's good. Next step, we want to make an HTTP request. So the first thing we're going to add to our morning text is the Bitcoin price. Now, you may be like, oh, I don't like Bitcoin, I like Dogecoin, something like that. But Bitcoin rules the market, where if Bitcoin drops 10,000 overnight, everything else is going to drop too. So for me, I like to check the Bitcoin price. I like to see where that's at. And that's what we're going to do in this example. So up here in the search box, you can search for HTTP, or as in my example here, it's already showing. So I'm going to click on HTTP. It's going to give me 3 options. I don't need Swagger or a webhook. I'm just going to choose the plain HTTP. And we need to put in, well, first we need to choose our method, which is going to be a GET request, and the URI. So we're going to be using CoinGecko because it's free and I don't have to sign up for anything. So if you go to CoinGecko.com, well, you probably can't see that. I didn't put the address bar in this screen record. Anyway, let me just move this down a little bit. So right here, you can see coingecko.com/en/API. Just go to that URL and click on Get Started. Now you have access to all of the API routes. What I want is something called markets. So I'm going to go under coins. Here it is, coins/markets. And you can put in your information here and generate your URL, which you'll need. And click on Try It Out. And right here, I can put in USD for US dollar. IDs, I'm going to put Bitcoin. These are your coins. And I don't really need to pick anything else. Total results, 100 per page. You can change all that if you want. But I can come down here and click Execute, and it'll show me what my response will be when I make this call. And here it is. I'm going to get all this information about today's Bitcoin. So I'm going to come up here and copy this request URL. Just copy that. I'm going to go back to my Logic app and paste that in. And that's it. You don't have to authenticate with CoinGecko. You can just pull the data. So cool, we're going to make our HTTP request. Now, as you know, we now need to parse that data. So we did a GET request. We're pulling this data down. Now you can go to New Step and type in parse. And there's a module for parsing JSON. So go to Data Operations, if you don't see it, and it'll be there. And you'll see it's called Parse Json. And what's really cool about Logic Apps is you can actually take, if you go back to your response, you can take this response, highlight the whole thing, copy it, and go back to your parse module, click on Use Sample Payload to generate schema, and you can use that response to generate this JSON schema. So I'm going to punch in this example, click Done, and it's going to generate the schema to parse my JSON. So you see here, like items, we have properties, we have ID, which is a string, symbol string, name string. It's going to get it all set up for me. That's really cool. And the content we want to parse is going to be this HTTP request here. So click here, and over here on the right, you'll see HTTP, and we want the body. So the body is going to come into this module. It's going to use this schema to parse that JSON data. And I think we're good there. We got all the data we need. When we go to send the text, we'll grab some information. So let's do our second HTTP request. So go to New Step and click HTTP again, the plain HTTP, and let's do the next one. So the next one is going to be openweathermap.org. So let me move this down again. OpenWeatherMap API. So type that in and go to openweathermap.com/API. And for this one, you will have to sign up for a free account to get an API token, which it's free, it's not a problem, and you can get all kind of cool stuff here to practice with. So you will need an API key to use this, but you just go up here to wherever, sign in or create an account. It takes like 2 seconds, they don't ask anything from you, and you get all of this data. So what we want is this thing called One Call API. It has a minute forecast for an hour, hourly for 48 hours, daily for 7 days. You'd think we'd want the current weather data, but I tried that and it only gives you the data for the current moment. So if it's 6 in the morning, that's great. I want to know what weather it is, but I also want to know what's the high for the day. And I want to know, is it going to be cloudy? Is it going to be rainy? Is it going to be sunny? What? So this One Call API will give us all that information. So click on the API doc. And it gives you a bunch of examples here, how to make an API call. And for this One Call API, you actually have to put in the latitude and longitude of your area. Like you can't use your city name or anything, but that's really easy to find. If you just go to, I think it's latlong.net, you can type in your city name and it'll give you the coordinates. So let's say I'm in Dallas, Texas. Click find and it should give me the coordinates. All right, so latitude is 32 point this, longitude is -96. Good. So just copy that and work out this URL here. Just grab this, use your API key, and put in your latitude and longitude. So what I have, on Fahrenheit, you need to put in units equals imperial. That's on that page here. If you go back and look, you can change your units. Where's it at? Right here, units of measurement, standard, metric, and imperial. So you can click learn more and it'll tell you which one to choose. Also, we don't really need all of this data. We don't need current or minutely or hourly or alerts. We just want daily. We just want to know information about daily. And I think it gives you 7 days, but we'll work around that. So it also asks you for your API key. I'm going to come up here to the top and add an action, and we're going to create a variable. So type in variable, or if it's available down here, just click on variables. And what you want is initialize variable. So I'm going to type this in. I'm going to put API key. My type is going to be a string, and I'm going to punch in my API key. I'm also going to rename this little module or whatever you call it, step. I'm going to rename that API key variable so I know what it is. So I'm going to punch in my API key, and you do the same. All right, so I punched in my API key, so I can come down here. I can use that variable. How to use variables? Well, you just click where you want it, and this neat box pops up, and I can see right here, variables, API key. And if you scroll down, you'll see that these all like correspond to these actions here. So here's my Parse Json. When it comes time to use it, here's all of my JSON values. So I could click ID here if I wanted ID, but what I want is variables, API key. And then now that we got the HTTP request, we need to parse it. So let's type in parse. Choose data operations and parse JSON. So we're going to parse this. So we need an example of the response. Let's go back here. Let's scroll down, and here's an example of the response. Actually, let's not use this because they're excluding different things that we're excluding. Let's take our own URL and punch it up here. So I'm going to move this up so I don't share my API key. But just punch your URL in the search bar. Make sure to put in your API key. And whatever you get, that's what we're going to use as the response. So here's my response. Let me copy this whole thing. Actually, I just do a Control-A, copy. And like I did with the other one, I'm going to use this sample payload feature to generate schema, and I'm going to paste in my response and click done. And it does the work for me. And the content, of course, is going to be this HTTP2. Make sure you don't choose the first HTTP. We probably should rename these, but it's not going to be that big of an app, so I'm not going to do that. But make sure you choose HTTP2 body. So we want the body of this coming in, and here's our parsing. So that should be available also. So let's move on to the third thing. Now that we got the Bitcoin price and we got the weather, which we're actually going to get the current weather, the max weather for the day, and the condition, like cloudy, sunny, whatever. Third thing we're going to do is we're going to get our events, our daily events from the Google Calendar. Like if you were coding something right now, you'd have to go into the Google API, you'd have to create a little application to use to pull that kind of data. With Logic Apps, it's already set up. Like let's say I needed to connect to like ServiceNow. There it is. They have a module for that. They have a module for Outlook. They have a module for so many things that make life really easy. But what we want is Google. Just type in Google, see what comes up. So you can connect with Gmail, Google Calendar, Contacts, Drive, Sheets, Tasks, lots of stuff. We want Google Calendar, and we want to list, we don't want to list calendar, we'll list the events on a calendar. That's what we want. We want to list the events for the day so that we get the information we need. So it's going to ask you to sign in to create a connection to Google Calendar. Click that and sign in with your credentials. So I'm going to move that out of the screen. I'm going to punch in my credentials. And see here it's creating. It's setting up the connection. And there we go. Connected to Travis at travis.media. And one thing you might want to do, you might want to go to your calendar if you don't have anything planned for today and just throw something on there. Like I just went and put like meeting with Bob, pick up the kids, that kind of thing, so that we can test and see that this works. So my calendar ID, I just picked Travis at travis.media. Now we got to pick a minimum time and a maximum time. We want like the whole day. So for minimum time, click there, and you can pick this, and you can use this cool feature of Logic Apps called Expression here. Choose Expression, and it gives you lots of neat coding helpers. So if I scroll down, I'll see this section called Date and Time. See here? Now there's a function here, or a method here called UTC now. So that will give me the current time, but that's not what we want. We want the beginning of the day. So let's keep scrolling, and we'll find start of day right here. It says start of day, returns the start of the day to a string timestamp passed to it. So let's click that. And inside of that, as an argument, we want to put UTC now. So what we're doing is we're saying we want the start of the day, the beginning of the day of today. So UTC now is going to give us the timestamp of right now. And what the start of the day is going to take that timestamp and give us the beginning of that day. Hope that makes sense. Now for the max time, let's check out the documentation real quick. So I'm going to go type in, actually let me move this down so you can see it. I'm going to go up here and type in start of day Logic Apps. And we're going to figure out how to get the end of the day. So reference guide for functions and expressions. Let's click that. And what we want to add time to the start of the day. We want to add 24 hours. That's the easiest way I've found to do it. There may be a better way, but if I come here and type in add to time, there it is. So they have a date and time function called add to time. So we want to take the start of the day and add 24 hours to it to be our max time. So let's click this and see what we got to do to use it. So add to time takes in a couple parameters. So the string that contains the timestamp, the number of specified time units to add, the time unit, so we can say 1 day or 24 hours, and then the format. So just to make this easy, I'm going to show you the answer. So I'm going to choose expression. I'm going to come to add to time, I think it was called. So let's go up to the, so let's go down to the date and time section and do right here, add to time. Let's click that. So the first argument is going to be the timestamp. So the timestamp we want is going to be the same as the minimum time. The start of the day with the UTC time is the argument, which is going to be the beginning of the day. So it's the same thing we put here. We want to put that as the timestamp because that's the beginning of the day. So let's go down, choose start of day. And as an argument to that, we're going to put UTC time. or UTC now, which is the same thing we have up here. So the first argument of add to time is going to be the beginning of the day. The second argument is going to be 1, and the third is going to be day. We could put 24 hours if we want, but we're going to put 1 day and click OK. And that should give us 24 hours from the beginning of the day, which is the end of the day. Leave a comment if that doesn't make sense. I'll explain it better. All right, and that should give us events on the calendar. Now, the last thing we want to do is we want to pull in some kind of nice quote to read in the morning, something to get us motivated. And there's a couple of options out there. I found one called like Zen quotes. I don't really like it a lot. The quotes aren't that good, in my opinion, but it's free and it's easy to use. So feel free to substitute it with something else. But we're going to go there and figure out how to use it. So up here, I'm going to type in Zen quote API. And there it is, Zen Quotes API, zenquotes.io. And this one's really easy to use. So yeah, here it is, no API key required. That's exactly what we want. If we go down to the bottom, there's a endpoint called like a random endpoint, zenquotes.io API/random. Generate a random quote on each request. That's what we want. Let me click that, and we should see some random quote every time we refresh the page. So I'm going to copy that URL. I'm going to go back to my Logic app, click New Step, HTTP, just like we did for the other two. Choose the first option. It's going to also be a GET request, and we're going to paste this in. So paste that URL in. Next, we're going to go to Parse it. So data operations and Parse Json. And we're going to grab that response, copy the whole thing, and paste it in our schema here. So use sample payload to generate schema. That's what we want. Paste it. Done. And we have our JSON. All right, so we got all the information we need. It looks like we're almost done. All that's left to do is create a Twilio module and add in the information we need, and then make sure it gets sent to us every morning at 6 a.m. So let's go ahead and do that. Click New Step, and we're going to type in Twilio. So we want to type in Twilio. And if you haven't set up a Twilio account yet, go ahead and do that. I have a link below that'll give you $10 credit by using that link. But I think they give you a demo number up front that you can use for free, and you can use for a while before you have to purchase a number, which you won't need to do for this, or probably for a while. But anyway, use the link, sign up to Twilio, and then type it in here, choose the module. And what we want to do is send text message. You can also list and get messages, but we want to send a text message. And then you want to set up your connection. So my connection name, let's say morning updates. My Twilio account ID and token. I'm going to pause here while I punch that in. All right, so once you punch that in, it's going to say connected to morning updates or whatever you named yours. And you'll see that you're connected. So we need to do a from phone number. And you're going to have to choose the number they gave you in Twilio. I'm going to choose mine. And then to phone number, just send it to yourself. So you can just punch in your phone number here. You probably need to put the +1 or whatever your country code is at the beginning. Then, of course, your area code and your number. So I'm going to punch in my own cell phone number. And then the text. So down here, this is the message you want to send. So this is where we're going to be putting all of our information. So let's say, good morning, Travis. And let's go down and say today's Bitcoin price is. Now here's where we start to paste in our variables. But let me point something out real quick that we haven't talked about that's going to happen. If you go back up to this Bitcoin, actually let's go to the response. If you go to this API response here, you'll see that it's actually an array. So we got these array brackets up here. So what it's going to do, as soon as we put this variable in here, Logic Apps is going to say, oh, wait, this is an array. So it's going to create this for loop and put the Twilio module inside of a for loop because it thinks that it wants to send a message for every coin we have here. So we actually want to choose the first instance, but we don't have to because we're only sending for one coin. If you were to add a couple like Cardano or Dogecoin, something like that, you added it to the list, you'd probably want to use that for loop. Or you'd want to do something like we're going to do here in a minute. But for now, since we only have one coin, it's okay to for loop it because it's only going to happen once. So we're going to leave that. And you'll see that it automatically does it here. So today's Bitcoin price is, so let's go to our parse Bitcoin response. And what we want from that is the current price. So right here where it says current price. So that should be an option here that's been parsed. Actually, we can just type in current price and choose that. And watch, boom, it's now in a for each loop. And that's okay, like we said. Second, we have this weather information. Let's look at that response to see what we're getting back. Now, this one's a little bit more complicated. What we want is in this, so you'll see where it says daily, this is actually an array. This is a 7-day forecast. So the first one's going to be today, the one we want, and then tomorrow and the next 7 days. So what we want is the first object in this array, and then we want to go into temp, and we want to get the morn, because we want the, if we send it at 6 in the morning, we want the morning temperature. And then we want to get the max temperature for the day. And then down here in weather, where it says description, we want to hear clear sky or cloudy. So we need these 3 values. Now, how do we do this? Well, this is where Logic Apps, you have this drag and drop interface on the front end, but you can actually flip it around and see the code behind it. And I'm going to show you what we're going to use. So here's what we're going to use. And let me explain this for a minute. If we come over here and we just hover over this for each body, you'll see that it says body, and in parentheses, there's a parse Bitcoin response, which correlates to this module here. And so when I show you this, it's going to start making sense. So we need to change this to parse weather response, parse And as you see, again, if I hover over this, that's the name of the module. So we're just using that, parse Bitcoin response with underscores. And then let's look at the JSON again. So from there, so here's the whole thing. This is the parse Bitcoin response. We want to choose this daily array here. So let's add that in next, which I already have, so daily. And then we want to get the first in the array. And you see every time you choose one of these parameters here with the brackets, you got to put this question mark in between them. So just remember that. That's why the question mark is there. It's just the way Logic Apps works. But daily is what we want. We want the first object, so we're going to put the 0 here. It's like an array. You want the first item in the array. And then we're going to want the temp object here. So we put the question mark to say, hey, we want the temp. And then within that temp, we want the morn variable. So all this is just parsing deeper into this nested JSON here. So again, we got this module. We want the daily array, the first object, and we want to go in the temp object here in the morn value. So let's copy that. And I think the best thing to do here is to create another variable. So let's go back up to this weather HTTP. Let's create a variable. Initialize variable, and we'll say morning temp. Or actually, it'll be the current temp, because we're going to send this every morning. And I'm going to rename that. Oh, and by the way, I renamed all of these things. You've probably been confused, like when did I do that? I did that kind of off screen to save time. But if you want to, just go in and rename it and make it a little more readable and maintainable. So current temp, the type is going to be a string, and the value, we're going to go to expression, and instead of choosing stuff down here and building it, we're just going to paste in what I told you and hit OK. And that's going to be our current temp. Another variable for the max temperature. So let's choose a variable, initialize variable. We're going to say max temp. This is going to be a string. And what we're going to do is pull back open the editor and figure this one out. So just leave that here. For this one, we're going to keep the same thing, but instead of mourn, we just need max. Max, highlight that. Go back to our Logic app and go to express. You can't just paste this in here. It'll be a string. You have to go to expression, put it in expression, and hit OK. The expression's invalid. Why is it invalid? Max. It's not invalid. Let's just try to erase it, put it in again, hit OK, and it worked that time. So I don't know, maybe my pasting was wrong. And then finally, we want the weather description. So another variable, initialize variable. We're going to call this weather description. It's going to be a string as well. This one, we're going to have to switch up a little more. So let's go to the response. And instead of choosing temp, we want weather. So let's change temp to weather. And you'll see weather is actually an array. So we need the first object in the array. And we want the description value. Awesome. So let's go back, paste that in. So for our value, we got to choose expression. Paste that in, hit OK. And it doesn't like it for some reason. It's OK. Let's try to paste it in again, hit OK, and it works. So I don't know what's up with that. We're going to call this weather description. This variable, chart max temp. All right, so these, when we put these in, they shouldn't create a for loop. Like it's okay to be in this other for loop, but since we work these out properly, and you can do the same thing for the Bitcoin. You can choose like the first instance in that array and not have to deal with this for each loop. So next we're going to say today's weather is, let's say today, current weather is, and let's go down here and choose it from our list, our variables. So current weather is current temp. Today's high is, and let's do max temp. And conditions, and condition is weather description. So like weather condition, you can change this whatever you want. Next, we want to get our Google Calendar items. Now, we face the same problem here with the array. It's going to give us an array of items. And we don't want a for loop with this because we're probably going to have 5 or 6 things. And so we have to work this one out. So here's something else we can do. Let's go to list the events on the calendar. So here's another trick we can do. Let's go under this. And we're actually going to come up here at the top and create a variable called calendar items. Oops, can't put that there. Let's choose variable and initialize variable. We're going to call this calendar items. What we're going to do is we're going to loop through that array, and we're just going to add this comma separated string, so we can add that to our text. So let's choose string and value. We're not going to put anything. Let's leave it blank. Rename calendar items. And back down here. So right under the list the events on a calendar, I'm going to choose an action, and I'm going to create a for loop. We're going to loop through this array, and we're going to append the result to a string, a comma separated string. So here I'm going to choose, oh yeah, it's right here, control. You can type in control. It's under the control category. So choose that and choose for each. So for each event on the calendar, so we need to choose this, event list items. So for each event, we want to add an action. That action is going to be a variable and then append to a string variable. The variable name is going to be calendar items, and the value is going to be, of course, this event list item. What's cool is that Google gives you like all of these items. So event list, the title, the start date, the description, the load, you can get all this stuff and like append it on each for loop. It's really neat. But I'm just gonna choose the title for now. So I'm gonna put the title and then a comma and then a space to make it comma separated. I could do the start time and end time, but I think it's like date time format and it's not very readable. So I'm going to leave it at that. So this is going to append it to this calendar items variable. So we're going to use that down here in our Twilio module. So we're going to say today's calendar items, and we can choose our variable, calendar items. Finally, we want the quote of the day. So let's look at that response. And if you look at this, this is also an array. But again, it's just one quote. So it's going to put it in a for loop, but that's okay. And you can parse it out if you want. I'm not going to do it for sake of time. But if you see this, Q is for quote, A is for the author of the quote. In H, this is like HTML if you want to put the whole block quote on a page. You can do that, but we're not going to use that. We're going to use Q and A. So down here, let's say ponder on this. And we're going to choose Q. Now watch this for loop drop in automatically. Boom. So there's a for loop on this, the quotes response. But anyway, it doesn't matter. There's only one of them. So ponder on this, Q. And then at the end of that, we want the author. So that's going to be an A. And that's it. This should work. From my Twilio phone number to my cell phone, this is going to send this information here. And it's going to send every night, every morning at 6 a.m. The cool thing, now let's save this. We probably should have saved a long time ago. So let's save this. And then what you can do is you can run the trigger. So no matter that this says 6 o'clock every morning, you can manually trigger it to test it out. So let's see if this works. So say run trigger and choose run. We're going to click run. And it should perform the starting action to run. Perform the starting action to view the run. This may take a few moments. And when you run it, it gives you these little check boxes to tell you that everything went good. So everything went smooth all the way down to the very end. So I should have a text message on my phone. And here it is. It's blurry. Anyway, I'll put a screenshot on the screen of what I got. You should have gotten your text message too. So every morning at 6 a.m., you'll have all the information sent to you. Be sure to find other APIs, things that match your lifestyle and the things that you're interested in, and make it all come to you in the morning instead of you going to them. Hopefully this was a lot of fun. Hopefully you saw the power of Logic Apps and maybe spark some automation ideas of your own. If you like this video, hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Lots of great videos on the way, including a few more other automations with some other tools out there like, again, AWS Lambda, things like that. We're going to do some fun stuff, so be sure to tune in, and you have a great day.